All right, people, you know what it is. The one and the only, the American Cholo Podcast. You guys are coming in for the next one. Our guest is finally in the building. So let's get some of you guys in here. Hope everybody's having a nice Friday. There we go. There we go. Let's bring it back in here, people. There we go. Give you a little beat. What's up, Dodger Blue? End Zone, J Canyon City, and Strong Beach is in the building. All right, Steve. All right, so let's get right into this, man. So today's guest is named Alex Enamorado. He is an activist and a city commissioner in Southeast Los Angeles, city of Cudahy. His work began in 2009 when he and the community got together to disband the corrupt police department of Cudahy and Maywood that was removed completely in July 2010. His work entails a 5 years experience in the national lead field organizer for the Willie Velasquez Institute. He later went on to work for the Senator Bernie Sanders as a regional field director overseeing the central coast of the state of California. Without further ado, let's give a warm hand to Mr. Alex Enamorado. Alex, ¿cómo estamos?
Good, good. ¿Cómo estás?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. Let me turn this up, make sure I don't get no crazy phone calls. So let's just jump right into this, Alex, man. Where were you born and raised, carnal?
I was born in Guatemala.
Okay.
My parents came from Guatemala when I was 8 months old. They moved to Cudahy in 1989, and I've been here ever since.
And let me get this thing. The thing that you went super viral for, and I want to show the people here. And 1 second, Mr. Alex. And it is this one, or is it this one? Oh, here we go. All right.
Money, man, life goes on.
I'm hopeful, yes I am hopeful for today. Take this music and use it. Let it take you away and be hopeful, hopeful, and he'll make a way. I know it ain't easy, but that's okay, cause we hopeful.
I wish that you could show some love instead of hating so much when you see some other people coming up. I wish I could teach the world to sing, write some music and have them tripping off the joy I bring. I wish that we can hold hands, listen instead of dissing lessons from a grown man. And I wish the families that lack but got love get some stacks, brand new shack in a lack that's on dubs. And I wish we.
Now that's a video that you made on TikTok, correct?
Yeah, I did.
And now tell me about the video. Tell me about the guys in the video. And with all that, just get into your story about who that person was, how you guys became those people, and how you guys ended up becoming the men you are today.
The reason why I was going through old pictures, right, and I noticed that in that picture it was four of my homies and I was like, wait, my homie May, my homie Mayor, my homie Habit, we all became sort of successful, and I said I need to make a tribute to that, because people always like to put out the negatives of growing up in the hood, and even though I do have homies who were locked up and are still locked up to this day, and a lot of them passed away, I wanted to give a shout out to the homies who did do good. We grew up in Cudahy and Bell Gardens area, and we were just trying to find a place to belong. We did get into problems with other people there, and the hood stuff, what I'm saying, like shootouts and the taggings and the gangs, and we went through all of that. But in the union of us five, we all found our ways, and we found our our purpose, and we still keep in contact to this day. So I just wanted to give a shout out to show something positive, what I'm saying, that we made out of it, even though the majority of us couldn't make it. I have a lot of friends who didn't make it out. So.
No, and that was the beautiful part of it, that you had all those guys in the picture, and all of them are successful to this day, right? That's something that's very rare, especially at a young age. Now, did you find yourself? Were you guys all like close homies that were in that picture at the time?
We were road dogs. We were together every day. We'll party from Thursday to Monday morning. So yeah.
Now, what was the conversation with you guys? Did you guys think that the gang was just a phase you were going through? Because there's different guys, different levels to it, right? Or
right.
Did you guys also kind of were like, you know what, we're just part of the hood, but did you guys all know that there was something bigger in life, or were you guys all in the box?
Look, I'll be 100% honest with you. There's two major gangs in the city of Cudahy, and both of them wanted to recruit me, but I just felt it was kind of stupid that I was going to beef it with people who I grew up with, you know?
Okay.
So then me and my friends, we started a crew, and our goal was to become a Trece. You know how that goes, right?
Yes.
And we were at that point where we were beefing it with Treces and going back and forth with the early 2000s. We didn't think anything else, man. I didn't picture being alive after 25. Growing up, I used to think stupid. I used to think getting shot was cool, you know? I used to kind of like welcome that. Now that I look back, I'm like, man, how stupid was I?
We all do dumb stuff when we're immature.
Yeah, I don't think none of us seen that, man. At that point, we were just smashing on enemies and just girls, you know, and that's all.
Yeah, you guys live. And then who was the one that eventually did you guys like one by one stop like getting away from the streets and going to work and all that?
Trying to remember. I think if I recall, I think it's my homie Albert, the first one. He got married, he had kids, and he just went to work and went home. The second one, I believe, was James. He went sober. He stopped drinking alcohol, stopped partying as hard as he did. My friend Edwin became a businessman. I think I was probably like the fourth or the third one around there.
Wow, that's an amazing story. Now all those guys now are all successful guys doing their thing in life, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And now let's talk about you. Your pathway has gone quite well. I mean, you talk to me about your education, your work, what you've been doing all these years since that life.
Yeah, I did go to ELAC. I went to East LA College. I didn't graduate high school. I went to ELAC. I was trying to get my credits, but I ended up doing other stuff. But then I guess what helped me out is hands-on training, working for organizations, and getting that experience that I got to this day. My friend James actually called me one day. He said, "Hey, come help out. There's people that want to register people to vote." And that's how I actually got involved. I was raised Jehovah's Witness from the moment I was born up until like I was like 14. And so I had that experience to door knock and talk to people, you know? And so I used that, transferable skill to my best extent. And that's how I got involved. And I moved up from being someone who just go knock on doors to actually having an office and working with the president of that organization. And I learned a lot how to empower Mexican and Guatemalans in the political system.
Nice. And that's what we're trying to do here, right? So you're also work for the city of Cudahy, no?
Yeah.
So what do you guys do there?
So basically, we're in charge of like budgeting when it comes to parks and recreation. For example, yesterday we had a meeting. We have it every month, and we hold events for the kids and the youth. We also have a nonprofit. It's called the Cudahy Youth Foundation. We hold annual toy giveaways. We give away free sporting equipment, and we pay for kids who can't afford to play sports, like whether it's baseball, basketball, football, anything like that.
That's great, man. That's great. That's honorable. And talk to me a little bit about what the police corruption was going on in Cudahy that you were involved in to try to shut it down, and how that all came about and how you got involved.
I feel like that's where the activist of me was born. I don't know if you ever heard of Potrero Club. It's a very famous club in the city of Cudahy. Too Short, Pitbull, a lot of rappers have performed there, a lot of bandas.
Okay.
I was actually I was with all three of them. Well, in that video you showed,
yeah,
I know I was with James and I was with Albert. But we're coming out of that club. We get stopped for no reason. I mean, to us it was nothing. We got used to that. Long story short, I ended up suffering a broken finger, fractured back, and a concussion.
Oh wow.
They told my friends to leave because I was running my mouth after they were beating me up. They told my friends to leave, and I'm sitting in the sidewalk after my friends had to leave, and they just started kicking me, kneeing me in the head, telling me if I didn't shut the fuck up, I was gonna get smoked. And that's when I was like, these aren't cops, man. These are cholos, you know?
Thugs.
And so I filed a lawsuit. And I got together with the community. We would join the city council meetings, and we ended up finding out they had tranzas with the tow trucking company. They were towing cars for no reason. They were having sex with underage girls. They were just running amok. They had a lot of corruption, and the point of that, 6 months later, the whole police department got disbanded. They all got fired.
Wow.
And it was great, man, because they were literally like just torturing every citizen in my city, man. I used to wake up in the morning and I used to see at least 3-4 cops stopping people, hardworking people, and just because you didn't have papers, they'll tow your car.
Wow. So no, that's a great thing you did, man. That's awesome, and I'm sure that's what, like you said, fueled the fire to your activism, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so this day I haven't been able to top that. I think that's the biggest thing I've done.
Yeah. I'm sure you do much bigger. You're on the American Cholo show, homeboy.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so now let's get into our political realm, because today you burned a fire in me. I said, this fool said I had no backbone, homie. I'm like, I got no backbone. I got backbone, carnal. Come on now. And I was like, no, you can't be one of those guys, man. And this is what I'm gonna say by one of those guys. All right, Alex.
Yeah.
And first of all, anybody watching, this is what men do. We discuss our differences, right? I don't know. We say we don't have no backbone. Those are them fighting words back in the days, homie. But anyways, it's all love. You said, and I hear this a lot, and to me, I think that's a problem with us as Latinos, Chicanos, Cali Max, as I like to call them, that when we disagree on a certain political thing, and I think your response was to me talking about Caruso or Bass for mayor, and you said something to the extent about, I got no backbone, I'm just a typical Trump supporter. And I'm like, I didn't vote for Trump. I'm not a Trump supporter. So why is it a lot of times people like you, and I got to say people like you because you said the comment, will sit there and automatically attack and go to the Trump card when somebody doesn't like your candidate, or you think they don't like your candidate?
Nah. So you, before I said that about the backbone comment, you called me a typical liberal, and to me that pisses me off, because
there we go.
I don't align with liberals. Liberals are people who are against Trump for his immigration standpoints, right?
Right.
But then they got Joe Biden elected, and now that Joe Biden's there, they don't say nothing about immigration no more, even though he deports more people.
There you go.
To me, that's a typical liberal. To me, I consider myself a true leftist. I stand up for the working class and not for the 1%. So yeah, that's my bad. I called you that, but
hey, it got this thing going, which is a good thing.
Because like I was liking all your posts. Like I love the fact that you called out Joe Biden about why letting Ukrainian refugees in before the Mexicans, and then when you're supporting someone like Rick Caruso, I'm like, wait, what? Like I just felt like I don't know. I couldn't know where you were coming from.
But listen, okay, let's get into that. See, a lot of times, so many people will also make the comparison to Rick Caruso, like I said, to the Trump, and they try to make it to a national level. Let's not talk national politics right now. Let's talk politics that's let me put this real quick so I can see you better. Let's talk politics where it's on a local level, right?
Right.
I see Rick Caruso as somebody who's going to be different than what's been going on, right? Are you a Bass supporter?
I don't know much about her, but I do know this thing. I feel bad for all the other candidates because I don't think they have a chance. She's a Congress member who is stepping down to run for mayor. That's like LeBron James going to play high school basketball.
Yes, but she's not winning in the polls anymore. Caruso's up in the polls. Caruso's up in the polls, and let me tell you why I believe Caruso's up in the polls. Because we, as people from LA, are sick and tired of the same old politics that hasn't been working. If we get Bass in there, it's going to be another Garcetti. It's going to be another one that, and I'm sure you have a certain way of feeling about the drug problem, the homeless problem. The liberals out here are just throwing money at this stuff. As of right now, I think LA is spending $3 billion a year. Let me see. I've got it somewhere over here. Let me show you what these guys are doing. They're spending about, is this the one? No. We got all kind of policies and stuff. I got it somewhere over here. There you go. The state is providing roughly $12 billion on homelessness programs over 2 years. The scope of the expanding problem can be seen in the city's budget. When Garcetti took office in 2013, the city was spending $10 million treating homeless. The budget signed last year was $1 billion. These guys are just getting our tax money. They're just throwing it. And I've always said, you can't throw money and think you're going to solve the problem. And if we get Bass in there, it's going to be business as usual. They're feeding all the social programs. They're feeding all these developers that are building these places. I think these apartments are coming out to roughly $700,000 to $800,000 per apartment for homeless people. And when I see Bass, I see that again. When I see Caruso, yeah, he's one of those greedy developers. I'm not going to say he's not, but at least he's going to come in here with some backbone, which I don't have. He's going to come in with some backbone, and he's going to actually start enforcing some of these laws, brother.
Yeah. So let's backtrack a little bit. So Rick Caruso, we have to look at history, right? Like you said, you don't want another Garcetti here. When I look at Republicans, like the way he is, he's a Republican. So I don't know if you know
He's
this.
technically a Democrat now. He changed. He's just to get voted in.
But
he's
you know, but
technically a Democrat.
like nine out of 10 poorest states in this country are Republican. And if you look at a local level, and I'll be honest with you, Gil, the reason why we have this problem, dog, is because we have a for-profit industrial complex prison system.
Nah, that's one of them. That's one of them. But
we white people per capita commit more crimes and consume more drugs than blacks and browns. Right. But yet blacks and browns are convicted at 5 times the rate.
Yes.
And to me, I see it like a replacement. Like back before, you used to have slave plantations. Now they replaced that with the prison system by targeting blacks and browns, and they think that's the answer. Lock them up, and the problem will go away.
Yeah, but right now you're going to a different topic. Right now I got that. I want to hit that topic with the prisons. But right now we're talking about homeless and the thing, but you're going up to the prisons and all that.
So that's what. So I'm getting there. So when you let's say me, right? It was super hard for me. I'm a convicted felon. It took me like 5 years for me to get back on my feet. A lot of the homies out there in the street, that's one thing. We're the only major country that doesn't offer Medicare for all. So we have the mental health crisis, right? This is why people consume drugs. People think that drugs is the problem. It's not. It's mental health.
Drugs is the problem.
It's the mental health. We wouldn't be consuming drugs if we were not lacking something in our life or something in our mental health. So we have a mental health crisis. We're the only major country that doesn't offer universal health care. We need therapy. We need therapy accessible for a lot of people. So we have all those reasons, and then mass incarceration, that equals to people being homeless and after that, because you're targeting so many blacks and browns and you're convicting them for bullshit reasons. And meanwhile, white people get a slap on the wrist because they got money and they have the white complexion, and all the stats are there. So in order to fix LA, we need to stop mass incarceration, stop prison slave wage, because the homies are getting paid 50 cents an hour to go fight fires. You know what I'm saying? We need to stop all that. And then once they get out of jail, the only jobs they can get are not that great. And I understand there's always going to be success stories like mine, but I'll tell you, that video I showed you, that's 5 homies out of 100, dog.
Yeah. Okay. Now let me tell you where I completely disagree with you. You still live in Cudahy, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, I still live in my neighborhood as well, right? And what I can tell you is when you look at the stats of the Weddles and all that they straight up do. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But right now, let's talk LA, let's talk California, right? Mm-hmm. LA and California, we're the ones acting a fool. Most of my homies are in prison right now because they're out here acting a fucking fool. Most of the people out there robbing people on the streets, running people over, is because they're acting a fool. And I think that the issue is this. We got people like yourselves who believe, oh, no, it's mass incarceration. It's not mass incarceration. It's we acting a fool as a community, and we continue to try to hug these people out. Look what's happening in the last 3 or 4 years. After the BLM movement, after Prop 47, after Prop 57, after B109, what happens? All these guys are coming out of jail. There should be programs for work, and sometimes there is. But the issue is this. The DA is not prosecuting them as hard. There's no gun enhancements, no gang enhancement. And you got that guy on audio, convicted murder, talking about, homie, I'm gonna get Gascon's name on my shit because I'm gonna get out. Come on, you a banger. You know damn well the laws are less, and I'm gonna do more crime.
Yeah. So let's go back to the budget thing, right?
Yes.
The city of LA budget. If you follow Kenneth Mejia on Instagram, he's an auditor. He broke down the whole budget. 54% of our budget goes to LAPD. Cops. The whole police force, they only solve 2% of major crimes. I don't know if you know that. They only solve 2% of only 2% of major crimes. Yet 54% of our budget and our COVID relief fund for LA went towards LAPD. And now let's get to the real criminals. Let's get to the criminals as far as like LA sheriffs. They have over 30 internal gangs. Okay, they don't get they get a slap on the wrist. They don't get convicted. Meanwhile, they're locking up the homies over small amounts and basically,
you can't say locking them up in small amounts, because since AB 109, they're not locking them up anymore. They made it where $1,000 or less, you're not getting arrested. They made it where, listen, homie, I go down here and I see a fool taking a leak with his dong out. Cop will drive by and not say anything. I see a fool out here literally smoking meth or shooting dope in his neck, a cop will drive by, won't say nothing. That's the world we live in. And we got to pick one of the lesser two evils. Either we're going to, and I'm not saying just fund the cops, but the reality is the policies that you're kind of talking about, that's what they're doing right now in LA. They're letting people out of jail, and the crime is going through the roof.
So let's look at Portugal. If you study the country of Portugal, which has a population of similar to LA, they decriminalized. I know you're not going to agree with this. That they decriminalized all drugs. Okay, because when you punish someone for what they're doing with their own bodies, it only creates a cycle that's going to create and it's going to pass on not towards them and also their kids. We have a lot of Mexican and Black kids who are growing up with their fathers because of mass incarceration. But what Portugal did after they decriminalized all drugs, overdose rates fell by 50% and their crime rates went way down.
Yeah,
and that's been
Portugal is
proven.
not America. Portugal is not America, brother. Everybody, I hear that all the time, but Portugal is not America. We are a different beast.
But we've tried that. Look, Reagan thought that mass incarceration would work, and he was caught on video, on audio, saying that his intent was to target Blacks and browns.
No, listen. On a lot of what you're saying, believe it or not, I agree on. It is a lot of the system. All right. In the 80s, they were bringing all the cocaine, so that fueled that incarceration stuff, right? That they started getting people who had crack cocaine 10 years, where somebody with the same amount of coke will get 6 months or a year. Yes, it's there. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But what's going on right now in LA, we're back to local level. If we want to go national, we can go national. If we go to local level, all the policies that are in place are making crime go through the roof. Because why? Because you've emboldened criminals, homie. You got these guys out there that don't give a shit, and until they run over your tia or your mom in a car and rob her, then you're gonna be like, fuck these fools.
I get it. But you have to understand that we have 11 million people living in one county, right? In one city, sorry. Right. And there's a thing called proximity, where the same reason why there's whites who are getting killed, they get killed mostly by whites. Same way Blacks are getting killed mostly by Blacks, Mexicans are getting killed mostly by Mexicans. It's proximity crime. When you have a city and you have a density level of so many people, of course you're going to have more crime. Of course Republicans are going to say, hey, we have less crime because there's only 5 people living in their freaking cities. You know what I mean?
I get that, but we don't have proximity crime. You got. Let's be honest. You got the majority of guys out there doing these follow home things. They're brothers. They're the brothers from South Central. They're the brothers from the hood, and they're going out there doing it with. They don't care. Some of these guys are getting arrested, and everybody does it. But that's what you see right now because that's what their homies push. Their homies push go rob. These guys are getting arrested, no bail policy, getting out 6 or 7 times, and keep committing the same crime.
Yeah. So look. I don't understand why the United States is not number 1 in population, but yet they incarcerate more people than anywhere else in the world. It's predominantly LA and New York, right?
Yes.
Why is that, Gil? Why is that we incarcerate more people?
You know why I believe that is? It definitely has a lot to do with the drug issue we have in America. It has to do with the freedoms that we have in this country. Since we have such a different world than anywhere else as far as guns, as far as our freedom, there is really no place like the United States. So since you got so much of this stuff out there, you're gonna get more people incarcerated.
So you don't think that it's because we have a for-profit prison system?
Oh no, definitely. That's also no.
They have a quota to meet every month, homie. They lobby to make up more laws. They lobby to make up more laws to lock more people up because they have a quota. Because they don't have enough people locked up, they won't make money.
Well, let me put it this way then too. If you know that if you do something, you're gonna go to jail and you got a family, are you gonna do it? I'm not. So the issue is everybody's listening to this right now, right? Whoever's listening, if you're out there acting a fool, I come from the school that you break the law, you go to jail. That's just what it is. Now it seems like, well, I think we're like you're saying, we're locking too many people up. Yeah, we may be, but we're the ones that keep putting ourselves in that position, homie.
No, I disagree with that. You know why?
Why? In
the past 20 years, our wage gap has tripled, right? The working class, we don't even have a middle class anymore.
No, we're dying now.
When you study cities like LA and the poverty level goes up, crime goes up. Poverty and crime go hand in hand. A lot of the homies who are doing this, if they had money, they wouldn't be out there in the streets robbing, bro. So I'm gonna go this. And let's just back at track 2 years. During the pandemic, billionaires like Elon Musk and everyone else, they profited $332 billion in less than 2 years. Meanwhile, the working class, we lost $332 billion. This is why our communities are starving, and this is why we have street vendors getting robbed, because the community is hurting.
Well, not so much, because most of these fools that are robbing, they're not robbing like, I'm from Honduras. I don't know if you knew that. I lived there when I was a kid. they're not robbing like in Honduras or in Mexico porque no tienen nada comer. These fools are robbing because they want to put some fucking Jordans on, homie. And that's the truth. Most of these guys out there robbing, they're not poor guys. They got the nice rides, they got the bling bling, and they're out there robbing fools because they want to put the Jordans on. They want to keep with the Joneses, homie.
Those are not facts. Those are not facts. I mean, I'm telling you facts right now. How the working class lost $300 billion in the pandemic, and those are facts on why our community is hurting. And if we have homies who live in Compton or live in Cudahy who want Jordans, but honestly, like I said, si tenían billete, if they had money, they wouldn't be doing that. And then another reason too why our communities are suffering, because you were born in Honduras, right?
Yes.
I was born in Guatemala. You gather up 10 Mexicans or 10 Guatemalans or 10 Hondurans. I'm gonna ask you a question. Out of those 10, let's say I'm gonna gather 10 Mexicans, 10 Hondurans, 10 Guatemalans who live in the United States,
yes,
and we're gonna ask them where were their parents born. The majority, what do you think they're gonna say?
I don't understand the question.
Okay, so we gather 10 Hispanics in the group, all right, who live in LA. And we ask them, where were your parents born? What do you think the majority is going to say?
Well, the majority would say wherever they came from.
Okay, even though this is indigenous land, even though this land was stolen from natives and Hondurans have natives and indigenous people. But the point is that the reason we're talking about Hispanics and the reason why LA is the way LA is. So I'll be very quick. Just give me a minute.
No, take your time, brother. Take your time.
So the U.S., and these are facts, the U.S. has intervened in southern governments. For example, in my country, Guatemala, in 1954, we actually had a progressive president who wanted to pay the farm workers a livable wage, but then came the CIA, and then came the United States. They overthrew that president and kept the poverty level at a certain level in Guatemala, which caused the refugee crisis, right?
Yes.
So that is a major reason why we are the way we are, and another reason, and I could go down the list. They did it to Mexico. They did it to El Salvador.
Everybody down the road.
They did it to Honduras. So that has to say a lot. Why we as a culture are struggling still, because the majority of us, even though this is native land, the majority of our parents just got here.
And see, the thing is, with all the stuff that you're saying, pretty much on the big picture, I agree with you, believe it or not. And I've spoken on it myself, right? And I say this, though. We can't just dwell on the past and be like that's just why that's why it's going on. What we need to do is the way we change those countries, right? This is what I'm getting at. The way we change those countries is to push our narrative here, push our political power over here. And after we push our political power over here, then we start changing policies that affect those countries. But to just simply say, well, that's what it is. Well, it is. We all know this. It is. But now how do we move forward from that to actually have a conversation and do something about it?
I mean, it's hard not to dwell on the past when you have Wells Fargo and Bank of America and Harvard University, who has profited off of slavery, who has profited off of exploitation of workers. I mean, the past is the reason why we have this future now. The past is why we have the majority of wealthy people are white, is because they profited it off the past. And now we're like, it's not a fair game.
Okay, so now how do we move forward? I agree with you on all that. I agree with you. But now how do we move forward?
How we move forward? We step away from mass incarceration. Instead of punishment, we move on to healing. And that has been proven in other countries. And it's not going to work. Mass incarceration is not going to work. And I tell you, you're taking away fathers.
How do we heal them?
Okay, we need to pass Medicare for all. We need to have mental health accessible to everyone. We need to have open mind of getting therapy. If I break a bone, if I break my leg right now, I'm gonna go to the hospital. But if I go through something traumatic, especially PTSD, growing up in the hood, shootouts and all that shit, I need therapy. I got therapy. And actually, that's the reason why I'm here today, because we need to go to a professional and get healing instead of punishment.
How about this? How about we as men actually start taking care of business, staying in the household, instead of going with the homies to go do some meth, get high and get drunk. We stay at home, we go to work, we raise our families. What it comes down to, I understand the stuff you're saying, man. It comes down to how you raise your kids, how you raise your families. When you've got households that the parents ain't there, the dad's getting high, the mom's getting high, and you're just making it seem like, well, it's because we all have mental health. We all have issues, homie. But the difference is, I don't choose to go smoke some meth to get rid of my reality, and that's the problem. Because what's the first part of fixing your addiction? Admitting you have a problem. And the thing is that I see from a lot of people from the left, they don't want to admit there's a drug problem. They want to sit there and say, "Oh, it's like, what do they do on when they do those shows that they come in there and say, hey, this is I forgot what they're called, but the first thing is you don't help them, you don't give him money, you don't give him this. It's like if your kid's a drug addict, all right, oh mijo, I'm gonna give you drugs. That's what the government's doing. I'm gonna give you a place to stay. That's what the government's doing. I'm not gonna give you any punishment. There is zero accountability for these people on drugs. I mean, it's like that, and I think you're wrong on that because hugging them isn't gonna work. You can't throw money at a problem.
So you're saying that the reason why our communities are the way they are is not because billionaires have profited it. And for example, inflation hasn't kicked our ass. Back in the 70s, bro, you could have a regular job and be able to own a house. So
Yeah,
now
but you're talking something different.
Hold on. No, that's the reason why we're stressed out in our country. There's the reason why we're stressed out in our city right now.
So we're smoking crack. A lot of people
you can't even have a 30 look, you can't even make $30 an hour in LA and afford a house. You can't even afford rent.
You can't. But
that's
the
reason why everyone's stressed out. That leads you to alcoholism. That leads you to anything. And we don't understand that the billionaires are lobbying throughout this whole country and taking and really running this country dry. And you know what? In the past 20 years, billionaires have sucked this country dry. The federal minimum wage has not gone up in 13 years, but yet everything else has gone up.
I agree with you on all that. The wage inequality started in the late 70s to early 80s. I think the percentage of what CEOs made has gone up like almost 1,000%. I agree with you on all that.
So you put the exploitation that's going on in this country, and then you compare all the atrocities that happen in Guatemala and Honduras. Man, you cannot say the American dream exists, especially 9 out of 10 businesses are failing. I hate when people say like, oh, well, I made it. I have a business, but the majority are not making it.
That's the great part, Alex. I say the same thing you're saying, brother. I say exactly what you're saying when it comes to the big picture, like you're saying that. But in the smaller picture, I disagree with you, and I'll tell you why. Because I don't pick the right. I don't pick Republicans because they're about their money and this and that. But the Democrats are doing the same thing, and that's the party that you support as the leftists. Out here in Los Angeles, out here in LA, everybody out here is pretty much a Democrat. And what have they done? They have let greedy developers come in here, build all these houses. They keep talking about we need housing. No, we need affordable housing. People can't even afford to live in their neighborhoods anymore. And those are the Democratic Party. They act like they love you. They act like they're your friend. They're not.
I'm going to agree with you right there. I'm tired of these Democrats in LA. But I'm going to tell you something right now. That doesn't mean we go to the Republican Party. That's not our only option.
I'm not that.
The Republican Party, it's an antiquated party. That's why they have no major majority in the Senate. They have no majority in the Congress. They're going to be left behind. Right now in this country, in the next 10, 20 years, you're going to have Democrats against leftists, maybe even socialists.
No.
You're going to have...
Hey, brother, I will bet you a pizza and a six-pack that the Democrats are going to lose a bunch of seats this election November.
Okay, but because there's a lot of people who are uneducated and they don't understand that they have another option. So I'm going to ask you a question. Can you define socialism for me right now?
Socialism, and my discussion would be a place like Venezuela that you get free healthcare. Well, this is the pretty part looking at socialism. You get free healthcare, you get free college. I think Cuba is communist. You get pretty much the free stuff, but at the same time, we do have programs that are kind of social, like you would do with the healthcare programs for elders and all that stuff. So different people say it's what it is, but me, I am not for a socialist country.
That is not what socialism is, and you're wrong. Socialism has nothing to do with the government. It has to and ties with companies. So, for example, it's when the workers own the means and production of a company. Right now in Amazon, for example, we have one person who directed everything. I know he's not on there no more, but we have Jeff Bezos, who's literally he's his own king. Yes. He gets to exploit millions of workers. If it wasn't for Amazon, we would have more mom and pop shops making money instead of exploiting millions of workers. That is what socialism is. It has nothing to do with free stuff.
That's socialism on the business end. There's still socialism where they give you stuff.
And I love the fact that you brought up Venezuela and Cuba, right? But Mexico is capitalist. Guatemala is capitalist. Honduras is capitalist. El Salvador is capitalist. And they're struggling just as much.
Oh, no,
why don't we bring those up?
See, but you think that I'm all for this capitalist the way you're going. When it comes to the capitalist stuff that's going on in America, right? This I say this is because I have, with the stuff you're saying, believe it or not, I have certain plans, right? I have a plan to bring the gap between the rich and the poor down, right? And this is a little bit of This is my plan. You tell me what you think. I believe the way you can get the gap between the super rich and the super poor is any business that is publicly owned, that's on the stock market, right? There has to be a cap between how much the CEO of that company makes to the lowest paid employee. There has to be a cap. And right now, whatever the cap is, we'll go off the highest one. And every year, this is what's going to happen. Every year, it's going to go down 1%. 1%. And that way the guy's going to go 1%, 1%. And it could take 100 years to make it level, because the rich are never going to go ahead and say, oh, overnight we're going to be level and this person's only going to be making $1,000 instead of 100,000 more. So anybody who's in a public company who's got trades in the stock, if you're a private company, you can pay yourself whatever you want more than the employee, because most likely those employees are not going to stick around. But if you're in a public company, like I said, right now, let's say it's 100,000 more than the lowest paid. Next year, it'll be 900, 900,000, whatever. One less, and this one goes up. So eventually it'll be like you can only make 10,000 more, or a number that'll work. People have to do the math, right? And then what they're going to push back with, the rich companies will push back and say, well, no, it's capitalist. And I say, no, you know why? That capitalist died when 2008 we had the crash, because we bailed out all these banks. We bailed out all these big companies because your capitalist system was going to crush. And us as taxpayers, that's when I say the rules of the game change and that capitalist stuff doesn't work. So like I said, believe it or not, we agree on a lot of stuff. We just usually
we do.
On this side.
We do. I like your plan. Do you know what Citizens United is?
I do not, but please tell me.
Okay, so Citizens United, I'm not trying to sound condescending.
Please.
I'm not trying to sound condescending. I just want to know if you did. So Citizens United is basically, if you're Jeff Bezos,
yes,
you can use a super PAC to fund a politician.
Yeah, I know.
As much as you can, and you're basically puppeteering everything. Even though Jeff Bezos, for example, or Elon Musk is not in politics, they are so in politics because they're lobbying. Money. They have their money runs the world. You know that, right?
Yes.
So getting rid of Citizens United gets rid of having politicians getting puppeteered. You know, for example, Gil Cedillo, fucking hate that guy. So he said, he's like, what did he say? He said, I don't really count on donations from the community because they can't afford me. So I'd rather have these developers puppeteer me. Yeah. He didn't say puppeteer, but he said basically he's going to take their money because that's how he can stay in his seat. Yep. So getting rid of Citizens United gets rid of these background dark money juggernauts who are running this country dry because they lobby to stay rich and become richer and exploit the working class.
But the problem is that both sides are doing it, Alex. Both sides are doing it. And that's go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I don't mess with corporate Democrats. I'm not a Joe Biden supporter.
Okay.
Bernie Sanders in the international level is not even considered a leftist because he's considered center left because he still believes in capitalism and in a lot of ways he's not a socialist. But I do mess with people who have that mentality. If you meet socialist and you get rid of that stigma that we have in our heads of what it is, right? You would see that the majority are pure people and could really reduce that wage gap, especially first by getting rid of Citizens United.
No, and listen, Bernie was just a little bit too old at his time. He was ahead of his time. I will say that. No, he was.
How old? You know? Do you know Trump, Biden, and Bernie were all in high school at the same time?
I believe it, but there's some guys who could be the same age and old. Like Biden is. Come on, Biden shouldn't even be in there no more. Ya está bien viejito, güey. That guy, yeah, he's like the grandpa at the party, dude. That's kind of ya está viejito, güey.
Like, I don't agree with Bernie running this year. I really want him to get some rest but that man is super healthy. I've worked with him. He's good, but I want him to get some rest. We need some...
What I loved about I would have rather liked to see Bernie go against Trump because Bernie is that guy that will sit there and say about all these billions of dollars, and he's right. Listen, like I said, I'm not saying that he's not right. He's right. These guys are like you were saying. They're getting us dry. The gap is getting bigger. These guys are competing for now. I'm a trillionaire. These guys are just getting more and more money while we're starving. Absolutely, I agree with you on that. Now, go ahead.
Last thing. Bernie won. We won here in California.
Yes.
California chose their president. Bernie would have wiped Trump and Biden. He did. He beat Biden. But the problem is with the middle America who are very conservative, and the problem was like the young people were not voting. When you look at the statistics of how many people voted who are ages 18 to 40,
yes,
the majority, 70% voted for Bernie. But what killed us is that the people who are 50 and over, they voted for Biden and Trump more but they came in bigger numbers. Why? Because they're retired and they have nothing to do but to go vote. You know.
Yeah, and they were not excited for Biden. I'm surprised he pulled it out. But I think the next go around, I think Biden's gone. And if he tries to run, he's a fool. They should get somebody else. He's
You know what's crazy? But they are, because when they said when Biden and Trump went at it, right? And we never seen people rally for Biden or whatever. But when Trump lost, the streets were filled with people celebrating. He won legitimately, but it's that they're not part of a cult. You know, the Trump train has started a cult.
Let me ask you this: how do you think the Biden administration is doing right now? Honestly, a grade.
I'll tell you right now. Let me answer this question. Bernie is a millionaire. Yeah, he is a millionaire. He's not even a socialist. Let me say this. Bernie believes in capitalism. He just like, people think that a billionaire and a millionaire is like this, right? So real quick, 1,000,000 seconds is 11 days. 1,000,000,000 seconds is 32 years. My whole life. That's a huge difference. 32 years. And so yeah, Bernie is a millionaire because he sold the book. But he doesn't. He wants you to make money. He wants you to be a businessman. He wants that. He just wants the billionaires who are making so much to just pay their fair share. Biden. So Biden. Real quick. So the Biden administration, in my eyes, they're not doing great at all. But the things that I don't agree with that he's doing, conservatives are okay with. So, for example, there's a lot of misconceptions. The Afghanistan exit, that's something that Trump signed before Biden was in office.
Yeah, but that was horrible.
The gas prices.
Horrible. No, let's go back to Afghanistan. That was horrible, dude. Come on.
So
how are you going to sit there and before you pull everybody out, just say, that's it, let's go, and leave people behind, and then you blow up like 7 kids and all that? That was insane, dude. He screwed up bad on that one.
Who?
Biden.
But did you know that Trump had already signed that withdrawal?
I'm not saying we shouldn't withdraw from Afghanistan. I'm not saying that whatsoever. The way they moved out, it was like you got the troca and you're throwing shit in there while people are trying to rob you. No. You stand your ground. You get everybody out of the country first, and then once you get over the country, then you go. Their government was literally coming forward as these guys were moving out. It's insane.
So, hold on. So during the middle of 2020, Trump had already signed an agreement that Afghanistan, we were going to withdraw the troops in May 2021.
Right.
And Biden actually postponed that till like months later. He actually did try to do, and I don't agree with everything he did, but we have to understand that Trump did that. We have to also understand.
Well, Trump signed it, which is fine, but Biden at the end was the one with the moving truck. I mean, he dropped everything. So
what else? So Biden, the gas prices had nothing to do with Biden. It had everything to do with the pandemic. That these corporations,
they're always greedy. They're always going to make their money,
and that's capitalism. We wouldn't have that problem.
They're always going to make their money. But the Ukraine thing, they pushed it, and that definitely helped raise the gas prices. You can't tell me Ukraine didn't.
We only get 3% of our oil from Russia. So
world economy, buddy. World economy.
So gas prices. Let's backtrack. Why did we have a pandemic? Why we were on major lockdowns under Trump, not under Biden. We couldn't even go out of our house. Everything was closed under Trump. It never happened under Biden. During that time.
Can't say that, Alex. No, you can't say that, brother. Come on. That's now you're just going all the way to the left, man. We had lockdowns under Biden, under Trump. We actually had more of a lockdown under Biden, dude. Come on now.
No, we didn't. So I'm gonna say this. Under Trump, we had a 19% unemployment rate, the highest ever. 19% unemployment rate during 2020. But let's backtrack a little bit. This is gonna take 5 minutes.
But I'm not. Don't think I'm over here trying to give Trompitas his thing. But the Biden thing, no. Come on, that's crazy.
So all I'm saying is, all right, gas prices had nothing to do with Biden. Afghanistan. That's what conservatives are spewing. I don't agree with Biden not canceling college debt. I don't agree with Biden not legalizing marijuana on a federal level. I don't agree with Biden not getting rid of Title 42 that benefits our refugees.
That's where I wanted to go next. Good. That's a good segment to go into that one. But before we go that, Trompito was the one that told the governors about COVID, you guys do what you want to do. And the feds with Biden wanted to pretty much put the pressure down. Yes or no?
No, he actually said, he was like, if I'm not going to lift this lockdown order if the governors do it. If they do it, if they lift it, I'm gonna sign an executive order to keep the lockdown.
We'll really disagree on that one.
But let's backtrack a little bit though, real quick with Trump. I'll finish here. In 2018, okay?
Yes.
And I'm gonna give you a hypothetical, okay? Let's pretend that Bernie Sanders is president, okay? And he says, let's defund the military. Let's defund it. Let's dismantle it by 90%, right? He leaves us vulnerable. China fucking bombs us. 500,000 people die. I'm going to ask you a question. Would you blame China or would you blame Bernie?
If he defunded the whole government, I would definitely be blaming Bernie.
Okay, so let me take you back to 2018. Okay, these are facts. Y'all can look it up. There was a pandemic team, which is a quote unquote military level for pandemics. We have a group of scientists who stay on day to day. He didn't fire them all, but he did dismantle them by 90%. There was experts crying out loud in 2018, hey, you're leaving us vulnerable to a pandemic. And not just this country. You're leaving the whole world vulnerable of a pandemic, of a major pandemic. So hold on. And then when shit hit the fan, Trump wants to say, and he's caught on record. He said, we could bring them back. Let's bring them back. It's like it's too late.
Brother, okay. I get what you're saying, but what you equated to with the Bernie Sanders, no. First of all, the same and I didn't vote for Trump, just to let you know, but I'm playing devil's advocate with you right now, right? The same liberals that talked all kind of crap to Trump when he shut down China coming in, and that's the problem with politics. They were calling him, he's a racist, he's a this, he's a that, because that's when the pandemic was really kicking in. And it's not like you say, it's facts, it's out there. He shut down travel from China. They were having that big thing in New York, and the Dems were like, no, you come out, let's do this, do that. This fool actually pushed a lot of it. He pushed the vaccine that nobody wanted, and then all of a sudden, oh no, nah, come on, dude, no, you can't sit there and blame all that. No, but in the pandemic that was supposed to be gone so long ago, it's been going for a year, and all of a sudden, new elections are coming. Okay, the pandemic's over with. That's just how it works. Just how Black Lives Matter, cops were killing all kind of minorities after the election. What happened? You don't see it on the news anymore. Nobody's killing black people. I guess the cops are not no more.
Still are, but. It had everything to do with when he did the China thing and he blocked the transportation. He left the Europe people coming in, and they kept getting us sick. That's why New York had a major lockdown. But you have to understand that was already too late. Dismantling the pandemics and being anti-science messed the world up, and that's
pandemic
wouldn't
have made a difference.
And then let's talk about this real quick. One last thing. The one thing I do respect about Joe Biden, he implemented the VAWA Act in 1994. That reduced domestic violence cases by 63%. And another thing I respect about Joe Biden, he's been in the presidential seat, whether as vice president or president, for almost 9 years, over 9 years, has not had one criminal indictment, has not had one criminal conviction from his whole administration.
Let's not talk about that, brother. Come on. Him and his son, Hunter Biden, are in some cahoots going on.
Hold on. Those are allegations, because there still hasn't been one indictment and one conviction from his administration.
Okay.
Second of all, you know how many Trump had? He had 89 criminal indictments.
Trump's a dirtbag. I'm sorry, Trump's a dirtbag. For I can tell you that all day long. Trump's a dirtbag. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Trump's a dirtbag. If Obama would have done the stuff that Trump did, they would have had Obama. They would have been kicked them out like this, dude. Straight up. No, that I'll tell you, Trump's a dirtbag. If you think I'm really trying to stand up for the guy, no, he's a dirtbag, homeboy. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Corrupt one for sure. And his main advisor, George Nader, I don't know if you know, in 2019 he was convicted for child rape.
Dude, his whole cabinet got indicted. No, he's a dirtbag. But
but the thing is, we have to understand that what happened in 2018 is affecting us now, which is why the economy is really bad.
No, it does. But listen, if the economy would have been going great, every president does it. It's our thing. Just like how, when Trump comes into office, he said that he got a horrible thing. No, I actually thought Obama did a great job when he got the office, because we were coming out of a recession. Bush destroyed it. Bush destroyed the economy. He got us in wars. So I'm not the guy that you think, oh no. Every president will try to blame the president.
Sorry, I'm kind of like responding to the comments too. I'm just saying these facts, especially with the whole corruption thing. That has something to give. But as far as what Biden is doing right now, I don't think he is doing a great job. I don't think there's a lot of things I disagree with, which is why I think Bernie Sanders would have been a better president.
Okay. Now let's go. Let's move over to immigration. I got an immigration plan too, but after you tell me what your stance is on immigration.
I think the United States owes reparations, especially for Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, for intervening in those countries.
Never going to happen.
They caused,
Okay.
but I mean, I think it should. I think we should have a pathway to citizenship. I mean, it's been proven that
SOC, that's for sure. Yes.
it's been proven that they do boost our economy. And
Yes.
workers boost our economy because when you give $1 million of tax cuts to a billionaire, you know what they do with that money? They throw trillions of dollars into offshore accounts outside of our economy circulation.
Right. So are you for, like right now, you have the Ukraine one, you agreed with me as far as saying, hey, they let them in the front of the line. Do you think they did or not?
Yeah. I seen those pictures that you did. I thought, it's messed up how quickly he snapped his finger. He did it for them, but we've been waiting.
But now they stopped. Now they're at the border again, and they're not letting them in. They're actually telling the Europeans to go back to Europe, homeboy, like the Native Americans did back in the days.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about immigration. As far as all the refugees or people that are signing up for refugee or asylum, should we let them in? Because you were talking about Title 42, I believe it is, right?
Yeah.
Should we let them in from one day to the next? How should we deal with the refugee problem?
I think that's kind of like disrespectful to say let them in, because if you go to Guatemala and Mexico and Honduras, there's a lot of indigenous. The majority are of indigenous descent, and this continent belongs to our indigenous people, which is us. I come from Mayan ancestry, so there needs to be some sort of reparation or some sovereignty to the indigenous culture and everyone in America put together. Now, if you go to Mexico, there's racism there too between the white Spaniards and the indigenous people. So I think definitely considering indigenous people as owners of this land, and they can roam as however they want.
But that's God, what's the word without sounding disrespectful? That's almost like a fairy tale that you're talking about, Alex. I mean, you're not. That's something that you're talking about something that's never going to happen.
Let me tell you something.
This is what's the equation to. That's like telling the Jews in Palestine, hey, the Palestinians come back and forth. This is their land. No, it's never going to happen, brother. That's a program that you're trying to implement that will never happen in America.
So I don't know if you know this, right? I ran across the Dodgers stadium field, right?
Was that really? I thought you were trolling and you put a different thing out there. That was
no. I didn't run at the Super Bowl. I ran at the Dodgers stadium.
Yeah, yes.
And the reason why is because of those 3 Mexican communities that were removed. You know that, right? By eminent domain.
Okay. Yes.
So I ran across the field. My girlfriend ran across the field, and we got tackled. Whatever. We had our banners buried under the blue, which is a great organization. I think everyone should follow. The point is that everyone told me that day, man, you're stupid. The Dodgers ain't going to give that land back. City of LA ain't going to give that land back. That shit happened 50 years ago. Man, that's some old shit. Stop talking about old shit. Bro, 2 weeks later, all right, there's a beach in Huntington Beach called Bruce's Beach that was taken away from an African-American family by eminent domain. It was given back to them. $400 million worth of land was given back after 100 years.
Yeah,
now, you talk about fairy tales.
They're back. You ain't getting it. You're a brown man, homeboy. I don't know if you ain't figured that out. We at the bottom of the totem pole. That's because they're black and they're popping, homeboy. We're not getting that.
Como dice Chicharito, imaginémonos cosas chingonas, güey.
No, I imagine huge, beautiful things too. But what you're saying, it's just it's a fairy tale. You are never gonna get it. Right now, you got people that you see kids out there starving. You see them living in tents, and they're not letting them in. And you're pretty much saying, "Well, give them a free pass. They're indigenous." That war's over. To me, like when people sit there and say, and I had a conversation with a guy earlier, Gil, this is this land. Listen, homie, I'm from North Hollywood, carnal. I am not whatever you guys may believe. That war is over. It's like us going up against a tank with the little, what's the name, a slingshot. The way we change this thing here is we get into political power. Like I was saying at the beginning of the show, we get into political power. We start changing the policies that affect those countries and make those countries self-sufficient, where people don't come here, because in reality, most of the people don't want to come here. They love living in their country where they're at, but they can't afford, so they come to America. So we need to get here, change the policies in here, but to sit there and simply say, let's open the border because they're indigenous, it's a fairy tale, Alex.
No, I mean, look, we can fight two wars at the same time. I agree with you with us getting into power. This is why when I worked at that organization, Willie Velasquez Institute, even though I'm not a citizen, I can't run for office. The highest government position I can get is commissioner, which I am. But we were able to train a lot of Mexicans, Guatemalans to run for office, and they won their elections. You should. There's a documentary on PBS called Willie Velasquez, Su Voto, Su Voz. He was one of our mentors who mentored my mentor, who empowered Hispanics in the whole political system. Because of him, Hispanics in politics doubled. So Willie Velasquez, he pioneered that back in the 70s and the 60s.
Right.
So that I agree with that. We should do that. But at the end of the day, it's the art of negotiation. Because, for example, you go to court and you ask for the bare minimum, they're going to give you the bare minimum. You have to turn it up a notch and ask, because if we're going to get half of what we're asking for, then we need to turn it up a notch.
Yeah, but you have to go in there and at least negotiate something. But when you get something like that, everybody in the room is going to look at this guy. This guy's crazy. He's coming here saying we need an indigenous pass for every country. No, it would never work. But let me ask you this. So without that idea, what do we do with the people at the border again?
There's a lot of people waiting for years to a pathway for citizenship, and Joe Biden promised something that he's not keeping up to date.
They all do, brother. They all promised, and they never delivered, dude. They never delivered since Reagan. There has been no real immigration reform, and that's a shame. Why? Because we don't speak up and say something about it. To me, that's one of the biggest things. Like, dude, that's a slap in our face every year.
People thought that we were going to stop the protests after Biden became president. I think we have another one coming up on May 1st. We never stopped because we're trying to hold them accountable for that.
Well, yeah, but what it is, though, this is what happens every 4 years. And it happens, and you're going to see it in the next 2 years. Every 4 years, they want to rile up their group base, which is African Americans, minorities, and whatever other liberals they got, right? And every 4 years, that's when all the CNN, the MSNBC, the local news will start pushing again, because BLM was around before 2016. They were around. Then they came back in 2020. They come back every 4 years and they start pushing this narrative. Why? To get them elected. And as soon as they get elected, it's gone. Let me ask you this: is police brutality gotten so much better now? Has the murder rates of cops killing people gotten so much better? Why is it that all of a sudden you got a Democratic president in office, you don't see any of that on the news anymore? Why is that?
Because he's pro-police. He just said it. He wants to fund them more.
When he got elected, and all the Democrats that got elected, they were all they were all defund the police, and all of a sudden they're all squirming from that because it's not the way. Now let me ask.
Because they need to get rid of qualified immunity. Like, cops have to be held accountable.
That is the one. Yes, I agree with you on that. Yeah, see, I got to make a video on this one too. I also have an immigration policy. It's all right. Let me show you the American Control Immigration Policy. It's going to take about 10 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is what we do. The first and foremost thing that you got to do in order to make an immigration policy effective is shut the border down a lot. And I mean, lock that bitch down where you're not getting that much illegals coming in, because there's no way the other side is going to go ahead and say yes, right? Wait, don't knock me down too soon, right? If that means getting some of the reserves up there to go in there, that's going to help stop the drugs coming in. Wait. And that's going to actually start helping the border shut down. Once that gets implemented, everybody that's in this country illegally, they get not a pass, but they get to sign up. Boom, you're on this thing now. All of a sudden, you're illegal and you can prove you were here. You sign up. You have now started your pathway to citizenship, right? Within those 10 years, after you sign up and you're in the system, if you want to go back to your country of origin to go visit, to do that, you'll pay a $2,000 fee. So instead of paying a coyote, you're paying the government $2,000. You can go back and forth, right? That's another one. Within 5 years of the contract, you are now eligible to get a green card. You get the green card. Within 10 years that you show that you haven't broken law, you are on your way to the citizenship. But at the same time, any jackass that sits there and maybe robs somebody, goes to prison, gets a felony, you pick him up and you deport him. And that's the only way you're going to get both sides sit there and say, well, yeah, because the problem is there's always one side crying for another and people try to beat you soft. You need to sit there. But then what does that do? That'll make millions of us legal. And that'll be better for us to vote to make our policies go through. What do you think?
All right. So you can't set someone's house on fire. Okay. I can't set my neighbor's house on fire and expect him not to flee. And then while the house is fucking burning down, I'm going to be like, hey, I'm gonna block you from coming here, okay?
I don't understand what you're saying. As far as blocking the border, we're already blocking the border.
Like I said, I cannot set setting my neighbor's house on fire. Remember when I talked about U.S. intervention in Mexico and
Yes.
Guatemala? That's setting someone's house on fire.
Okay.
That caused the immigration crisis from there, right? You cannot do that. I cannot set my neighbor's house on fire and then expect them not to flee and then lock them in there. There's a lot of reasons why they're coming here. You know, there used to be a time back in the 80s, Gil, that the border was open. People will come here.
I'm a little older than you. I remember going there, picking up one of my stepdad's brother, and he just hops over the fence and we pick him up.
And Gil, you know what's crazy, bro? A lot of them just want to come work and then go back.
No,
make a little money.
Okay.
So you know what? By having a strict border, a lot of them are here and they don't even want to be here.
Hey, but that's what we have right now. Right now, you're saying when somebody's house on fire, that's already we have right now. We got thousands and thousands of people at the border stuck, and they're not going. So that system that you're saying, it's already implemented. That's what we got going on. At least we get the people here to get papers to become citizens. That way they can help them out there, and that way they can help us vote the blocks we want to get policies implemented. If not, what's going to happen is people like yourselves are going to sit there and say that, and you know what's going to happen? Nothing. Just exactly what's happened the last 30 years. Nothing, homeboy.
Well, look, if your problem is crime, that you don't want them here without having.
I never said nothing about crime. No.
You said the majority of guns and drugs come through ships. They don't come through the border. To be honest with you, so that's 100% fact. So another reason.
I love how you just say everything's 100% fact.
It is. So, like I said, the U.S. has intervened and overthrown Mexico's government. They've overthrown Guatemala's government. They've overthrown Honduras' government. They set them on fire. These people wouldn't be coming here, because
I agree with you on that. But that's where we're at now. It's like I said, you're stuck to being in the past. Just okay. So what do we do? Just keep doing what we're doing. So we just keep doing what we're doing.
Let me tell you another thing. So one thing is this: the war on drugs. You know, the war on drugs that Reagan implemented is the reason why cartels in Mexico are so powerful, because they created a huge black market because white people love to do cocaine.
Well, we all love to do cocaine.
And they want to do cocaine. And that criminalizing drugs created a huge black market, which is why now
again, I understand what you're saying, but the scenario you gave us, we have that scenario now, and that's what I get frustrated on the left, because it's not that I don't want those people coming in, but like let's say you have 40,000 at the border right now, right? Dejamos esos entrar, we let those 40,000 go in, what's going to happen? Another 40,000 is going to come, and another 40,000 is going to come. It's got to be to a point where, hey, dude, no, we can't. That's what's going on right now. Biden, the lover of Democrats, the one he's not letting them in because he knows you can't, because they're just keep coming.
And you know what's crazy, Gil, though? What's fucking up our economy, sorry to cuss, is not refugees. It's the billionaires that are sucking our country dry. Like,
I'm never saying that it's the raza coming here. We work, homeboy. We take care of business, God. We're here to work, homeboy. Bottom line, I'm not saying that.
And then refugees, they commit what, 50% less crime than U.S. citizens.
Again, you're arguing to something that I'm not even talking about. To me, I work construction. I work with a lot of people who are in those situations. We come here to work. The majority has come here to work to take care of our families. But to me, it breaks my heart when I see some guys that I've worked with for 15, 20 years, and they got no papers, homie. Because why? Because people get too soft like you are and saying, oh, but we can't let them. While we're saying we can't leave them behind, we're leaving the 11 million in this country behind. We're leaving these people without any papers. And you got people over here that have been living here for 20 years, and they're getting deported. And they're like, dude, I don't know anything about these countries. Why? Because we can't sit there and have the balls to say, all right, dude, enough is enough. We close this border down. We implement this thing. We get citizenship, a pathway to citizenship.
That's not going to be any faster. We know people who have been in Mexico waiting to do it the right way for 10 plus years. You know, there's a lot of patient people who have been waiting, which is why the crisis
the immigration system is destroyed in this country.
Well, I mean, capitalism is the answer, right? I mean,
you're putting words in my mouth. I never said anything like that.
I'm talking to the comments here too. So capitalism.
Talking to the comments, homeboy. Stay away from those guys.
Capitalism has this country in $30 trillion national debt, and then we have Mexico struggling, and it's a capitalist country. We have Guatemala struggling, capitalist country. And the way we make those economies better, stop intervening in those countries. And it's not the past. It really is still happening till this day. And that's why we are where we are.
We'll be off in a little bit right now. Hey, so you know what I see here, Alex? I see two guys that have a lot more in common that they do not.
Oh yeah, we do.
I think that there, my thing is this: I always think there's a middle ground. I think there's somewhere in the middle, and what I see a lot of times, and I feel that with you with a little bit with the immigration thing, that there's no give. There's got to be a give and take. We can't live in this fairy tale land. We got to approach this as, all right, dude, I know it's going to hurt some people's feelings. I know some stuff, but right now we can't bleed out. We have to sit there and compromise and give both sides a little bit. And that's what's been going on in the Democratic and Republican Party. Both sides don't want to budge. Why? Because they use it to get our vote. They use it to get our vote. And me, I'm sick and tired of that. I'm like, nah, brother, we need to, immigration is something that every last president should have done. But why? Because we continue to vote the same way. And they know we're going to, the Democrats know we're going to vote Democratic. The Republicans know we're not going to vote them. So everybody's like, these ways are going to vote the way they vote all the time. And until we change the way we vote, it's going to be the same system as always, brother.
It is. And I think right now, like I said, we need to get that out of that two-party system in our head. It's not just Republicans, not just Democrats. What we need to do as far as in the national level is unionize. Amazon is doing it right now. And just to reduce that wage gap. I think you and I can agree on that. We want to make this a better place for our kids.
Yes, for sure, brother. Hey, Alex, you know what, brother? It's Friday. I think my backbone came back. Hey, man, I appreciate you. I don't know what you're doing May 21st, homeboy. We're having that event out here in North Hollywood. We're having an event that we're doing what we're doing right here. We're going to speak. We're going to have a bunch of raza there. And I would love to invite you, your people, to come through and be part of it. If you want to talk, man, I would love it. You're a very passionate guy you're actually doing the groundwork, brother. And for that, I applaud you, homeboy. I think you're doing a great job, man. Thank you. We need more people like you. On the things that we don't agree on, we can agree to disagree sometimes, but I think we could still discuss them and eventually be like, you know what? There's good in everything that we kind of say in one way or another. And there's stuff we're going to disagree on, and it is what it is, brother. But hey, muchísimas gracias, carnal. You can tell people where they can find you on TikTok or on Instagram, please.
Yeah, Instagram and TikTok, Enamorado Alex _.
Enamorado, there you go. Alex is bien enamorado, so go check him out. All right, let me cut this out. Hey, brother, I appreciate it, my man.